Coming up on Inside the NRL. Concerning scenes for Rugby League as Andrew Fifita is taken to intensive care with a serious throat injury. Can Parramatta fix their problems in time to avoid another early finals exit? Tom Trbojevic is injured again, but how long will Manly be without their number one man? And what does Turbo's injury mean for this year's Dally M race as Nathan Cleary returns and Cody Walker continues to shine? 168 games down, 33 to go. 3 rounds remaining in this year's regular season. Cannot wait for the finals in a month's time. I'm Zac Bailey. Hello and welcome to Inside the NRL. Joined this week again by Jamie Soward. How are you?
Hey Zac, good to have you back, mate.
Thank you. And Michael Chammas. How are you, mate?
They're good, mate. How are you?
Breaking some big stories across the Sydney Morning Herald masthead. Sadly today, though, it was a distressing one for Cronulla's Andrew Fifita. There were distressing scenes following their loss to the Knights yesterday afternoon when he was rushed to hospital after suffering a serious throat injury. And Michael, today things haven't gotten any better for Andrew.
Yeah, it's a real sad situation, but thankfully Andrew Fifita's in a stable condition. Now, we saw he finished the game yesterday and seemed okay, and the Sharks and Knights players noticed that he was fine after the game. However, during the match he suffered what is a fractured larynx, and then that swollen up after the game, and that caused him to struggle to breathe. He was taken to hospital, and we reported today in the Sydney Morning Herald that he was placed in an induced coma. It was a precaution to make sure that he was able to breathe throughout the night, given the swelling in the area. So hospital staff had placed him in an induced coma. He was in ICU in Brisbane, and they're hopeful of waking him up this evening, and continuing treatment, which is likely to be surgery on that injury. So fingers crossed for Andrew Fifita. He gets through this and his family. Our thoughts here on Inside the NRL with all the family.
Sowie, I mean, we see so many collisions every game. It looks pretty innocuous if that was, in fact, the incident that occurred it.
Yeah, it's really sad to see and hear that now with Andrew Fifita. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. But, you know, those incidents could probably happen a million times, you know, before we see one get in the right area. I think Rory Cross-Jason, who's now a coach at the Newcastle Knights, suffered that same injury, Chammas, and had to retire from it as well. So I just hope the big fella's okay, and you know we're able to see him, you know, back bouncing around. Just in life in general, I'm not worried about footy at the moment.
There's a little bit of conjecture around what was the incident that actually caused the injury. From what I gathered, the NRL was looking at the incident involving David Clemmer early in the second half. It's not the incident where he was taken off for a HIA.
This one?
Yeah, it's quite innocuous. It doesn't look like much, and it doesn't show any symptoms of any discomfort for the remainder of the set. I watched the set unfold after it, and it seemed as though Andrew Fifita was okay. It's the swelling after that caused the injury, that caused the concern with the airways. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there for David Clemmer in regards to the match review committee. I think, from what we see, do you think there was something there to be concerned about as a game?
Well, blokes lift their elbows and knees and stuff every single carry. So, like I said, you see that incident a million times and you get it in the right area or wrong area for Andrew, and you know, you see the result of that. So I don't think there'll be anything to worry about, but it's something that is going to have to be looked at now.
Yeah, sadly, it isn't a great situation with Andrew Fifita, but our thoughts are with him, his family, the Sharks and all of his friends. All right, it's time to try and pinpoint what is going wrong with Parramatta at the moment. After round 18, they look like top 4 certainty. Since then, 4 straight losses. They're down to 6. Sowie, same old story, another year on. What is going wrong with the Eels at the moment?
Well, yeah, I watched it on the weekend. They came out with no energy, no enthusiasm whatsoever. The very first set, you know, they were pumped up, but after they gave away the penalty and conceded the first try, you could see it was here we go again. And there's a couple of things. They swapped the side of Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown this year, and neither of them have looked comfortable within that. I know that they've won some games, and they haven't adapted to the style that everyone else or the top teams have gotten. So a ball playing 13 that's able to distribute to the other side and involve that left-hand side or right-hand side, plus Clint Gutherson, who's your leader, your captain, and one of your best players, doesn't touch the ball inside the 20. So they haven't progressed their attack and developed everything on the run, which is why they struggle in attack. And defensively, they are so far on different pages, it's not funny. They've got blokes racing across centres, they've got centres staying out, you've got making your own decision. Everyone's on a different page defensively, and it was so easy for the Turbo show on the weekend. They just have no idea. I mean, Sivo's coming up and in there on that clip. They look like a team that is just out of ideas, and they're not sure They don't trust each other. They haven't worked on combinations. And look at some of these tries here. This is, men v boys.
Can they change these systems once they cross that white line for the 80 minutes between now and the finals so that they can cause some headaches?
No. They've tried to bring guys in. They brought in an experienced guy, Michael Oldfield, on the weekend. And no disrespect to Michael, but he came up and in a couple of times when he didn't need to because they don't know what to do on an edge defensively. Manly had a two-player overlap.
We're blaming poor Michael Oldfield.
I'm not blaming Michael Oldfield. I'm saying that the system there is...
It doesn't matter whether it's Ferguson, doesn't matter whether it's Dunstone,
no, that's
doesn't
what I'm
matter
saying.
whether it's Oldfield. It's the system. They've been told to jam.
That's what I said. It's the system.
Okay.
So poor old Michael Oldfield's come into the system on the weekend. He's jamming up and in second set, and you've got Brad Parker and also Ruben Garrick standing out there ready to score tries.
Is it just system, or is that have they lost confidence and belief in what they do? Was the system right, and now they're starting to doubt it? Where does the mental side effects start to take play? Because you've been in this situation before.
9, 10, 11, I think we lost 4 out of our last 6 games, and we're in position for titles all 3 years, as Dragons fans would remember. But when you're not defending well, you don't have any confidence in your attack because you know that we're going to leak points, so we have to score. If we're leaking 24 points, we have to score 25. So the pressure starts to build, and then you watch them get inside the 20. There's no momentum, there's no rhythm or rhyme what they're doing to their attack. This is a team that should be just ploughing down the middle, some second phase off their big boppers, and then having ball runners. Moses, Dylan Brown, Clint Gutherson. Dylan Brown's only got 2 try assists on the year.
Yeah, look, Dylan, we all saw Dylan when he first started. So much potential to become a superstar of this game. Tremendous guy, but he hasn't lived up to that hype, has he? And it's fallen on Mitchell Moses, and the knock on Parramatta since the start of the year, for the last 2 years, is when things are going well for them, they are great. They are great. But these last 6 weeks, things haven't played out the way they wanted to, and they look dishevelled. They look like they have no idea. They haven't played football together. And that's going to come down at the end of the year. We're going to have some serious conversations about the personnel in that roster and what they do going forward. Dylan Brown is on a big contract there. He's probably second to Mitchell Moses in terms of salary. Clint Gutherson, what happens with his future there. Parramatta, they're going to have a lot of room in the salary cap and players coming off contract in the next 12 months. So if they are going to make moves, if you're a coach going to take over Parramatta, you're in a good position because you're not going to get a better team to take over than the situation they're in with that roster. It is a good roster for a coach to take over. Whether Brad Arthur's the right man for the job, time will tell. It'll all hinge on what happens in the finals. If they embarrass themselves in the finals, I fear for Brad Arthur's future.
All right, let's get back to the here and now. And last week, they could talk about their coach, they talk about their captain's future, all throughout the press all week. You normally get 2 responses from a team. It's whether they unite, they get there, they fight, or they can crumble. And they crumbled under pressure on the weekend. What does that say about where Parramatta are at as a club?
The game was gone before they even had the ball. That's the disappointing thing. They didn't even get an opportunity to put Parramatta under pressure. I think what it says about Parramatta at the moment is they don't know where they are going. And it was quite telling, the post-match press conference from Brad Arthur. I think Brad Arthur looks like he doesn't know where to go with this team at the moment. He said something around giving these guys some time off or looking after them away from footy. That's not the focus this week. Is that the answer? Sow, you're saying there's some problems with the systems there. Does time away actually help them with that? I don't know. Parramatta are in this situation. It's an all too familiar situation, yet they still don't have the answer.
They've got the Cowboys this week, then they've got the Storm and the Panthers, then finals footy. So they've got 1 week to turn it around, get their confidence back before it's game on.
They lose first week of the finals.
I asked you that question a couple of weeks ago, and you said no, they'll be there week 2.
I still think Parramatta will win that first week. They won't make the top 4. They're gone from the top 4, but I think they'll win week 1.
But you can't just see that run home. You cannot just go in off the back. If they turn up like they did on Saturday night, Melbourne and Penrith will put 50 on them back to back.
Yeah, they will. Yeah,
and you can't go into that first week against Newcastle or Canberra and expect everything to be okay.
No, but look, Newcastle and Canberra haven't set the world on fire all year, so
they don't have to. They're going to be playing a team that's going to be on the same level as them by the time that first weekend in finals comes around.
Yeah. I'm telling you, if the Raiders play finals footy, they could cause some headaches. I know they haven't put it together, but Ricky Stewart, he could get them together.
He's the master of the ambush, Ricky. Oof. This is, honestly, is there a team, outside the top 4, is there a team better suited to going into camp together than Ricky Stewart's team?
Earlier this year you would have questioned it, but right now they look like they've come together. Anyway, there were some big casualties in round 22, so it's time to look at this week's casualty ward, brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. And it's the news that no Manly fans wanted to hear. Tom Trbojevic injured again now. Last night there was some reports that he could be out for 2 weeks with a cheekbone injury. Michael, your Sydney Morning Herald colleague this afternoon, Christian Nicolucci, has said that he's told Des he wants to go and he wants to play this Friday night. What's the latest?
I think Christian's got Tommy in his fantasy team. He needs him for this weekend, so he's pushing him to get back. But look, from my understanding, he probably requires a week off. Tommy probably would say he doesn't. But is there any harm in giving him a week or two off now, given that they are there or thereabouts? Maybe they think top 4 is where they need to finish. So you'd assume the Roosters may struggle against South Sydney, which gives Manly the opportunity to get into the top 4. So if that's the case, then maybe Tommy will play. But I really don't think there's a need. Just give him a break. It's been a long year. He's played Origin. We know his history with hamstring injuries. If there's any opportunity to rest him, I think that Manly should take it. Soward, do you disagree?
Oh, if he's ready to go, he's ready to play. He's in the slot at the moment, so are Manly. I think they're going to be the first team in history to have 3 players score 20 tries. You know, Garrick, Saab and Tom Trbojevic. So, and he's probably got a Dally M to win and cement. He's in the lead at the moment. I know he's got a couple of...
You got a scoop for us, have you?
Trust me, I've been doing the numbers at home in lockdown. But I think if he's right to go, play, because the last thing you want to do is go out there and let a game slip. You know, if they finish 4th, they would fancy their chances against Melbourne week 1. And then you might get to the other side of the draw where you come up against a team that you know that you're better than.
Let me reverse that question. Who do Melbourne not want to play in week 1?
Manly.
Yeah?
Yeah, so Manly have got the Raiders, then the Bulldogs and the Cowboys. So if Turbo doesn't play and he misses a fortnight, all those 3 weeks, can they still finish in the top 4 without him?
They can, because they're on the level now. DCE, for a long time, Manly has been DCE's team. Now it's Tom Trbojevic team, and I think DCE actually relishes the fact that he's not the go-to guy who has to get the ball and come up with all these plays. He can go out there and direct around, insert himself when he needs to, and Tom can come up with the big plays and get the headlines and all that kind of stuff, and rightly so. And they are such a well-balanced team. Talk about the value they've had. Morgan Harper, Ruben Garrick, Brad Parker on an edge. All those guys are scoring tries and doing their job defensively. I still need to see them tighten up a little bit against the big teams, and they did that on the weekend.
If my memory is correct, didn't they play Canberra without Tommy?
Yeah, and they got
rolled at Brookvale.
Yeah, and they were pretty disappointing that.
That was the start of the Raiders' resurgence.
Yeah,
I think they're a different team now. Yeah, and they'll have a look at the next couple of games. Like, they'll beat the Raiders this week. I think the Raiders are better, but they'll beat the Raiders this week, and they've got Cowboys and Bulldogs, which is 2 wins.
All right, we've got to take a look at the rest of the casualty ward list from round 22, and there's some other big names on there. Daniel Saifidi, New South Wales prop and Knights prop. He'll miss some time on this year. His season could be over, potentially, if the Knights are bundled out early in the finals or even don't make it. He'll miss 3 to 5 weeks. Andrew McCulloch won't play again this year. He needs surgery on an ankle injury. Fellow Dragon Blake Laurie could also be out for the rest of 2021 with a broken hand. Storm duo Jerome Hughes and Dale Finucane are expected to be rested this week as a host of players, Sitili Tupanua, Brad Parker, Jared Croker, undergo testing after suffering head knocks. Croker's Raiders teammate Tom Starling played on with a broken jaw against the Storm, but he also may be out for the rest of the year. Sadly, Xavier Willison has suffered the dreaded ACL rupture just 3 games into his NRL career. Thankfully, though, he re-signed with the Broncos for another 2 years last Friday. There's positive news for Brisbane halves, Albert Kelly and Tyson Gamble, who have both been cleared of serious injury, although Gamble will miss 2 weeks through suspension. Finally, Canterbury's Jake Averillo picked up a hand injury in round 22. All right, speaking of the Broncos-Roosters match finished in some controversy over the weekend. So were the Roosters able to, or should they have been allowed to make a captain's challenge? Let's find out.
As he tried to get up to play the ball, before he played the ball was dropped in the play the ball. So that's why the challenge was able to take place. The process wasn't that tidy, but the most important thing in that particular decision is that the incident which arguably caused the ball to be dropped was picked up in the review. Because again, if that hadn't been picked up in the review, we would have had a very different controversy after that game.
Sowie, what was your initial reaction to that captain's challenge?
Well, great work from Tedesco and the Roosters getting it at the right time. I didn't think it was a head high in terms of
The
ones
actual
that we've
overruling
seen.
of
Yeah, the overruling. I mean, this here is just a tackle coming in, the ball comes out. Satilli knows that the ball's come out, and usually I take a lot out of the reaction of the players. They all reacted there, so it's up to Egan Butcher to come up with a play the ball. So is the process, that's just a drop ball.
So he's dropped it before he's played the ball, and that's why it's okay.
Yeah.
But if the hooker knocks it on, it's cleared the ruck, then it's not okay.
It's the motion of playing the ball. Should that warrant the next tackle? I don't know.
So should we reevaluate the captain's challenge when it can be used? Because I was sitting back watching it going, hang on a minute, like I thought I knew the rule, but even commentators were questioning it, opposition players were going, hang on, they can't do that. Social media lit up because fans and experts were engaging in conversations about it. So clearly they could then, but do we need to tighten when they can and can't do it, or do we all just need to be more educated?
No, because you're not going to be able to cater for every circumstance. They're going to be things that you just don't foreshadow that's going to happen in a game of rugby league. Like you just can't plan for it. I'm with Sowie. Was that even a high tackle? Like, are we deciding the game on that? Yeah, I
look at it this way, and every time there's a penalty like that, if that's going to decide a grand final, we're heading down a dangerous, dangerous path. I don't want to see that decided. And everyone can say, oh,
that's
it wasn't
a crucial, very crucial 2 points for the
Sorry.
Roosters.
100%.
Because they could finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
And that could be the difference. Anyway, I don't want to go down that path.
We just go back on the review, right? If they want to question the grounding, why are we going back to the start of the kick to check onside and everything like that? That's why we've got touch judges. That's why we've got referees out there. They've let the play go on. Right there, Ashley Klein has let the play go on.
You know why?
And we've called the next play.
Because someone like Michael Chammas, who's very good at his job, would go back and look frame by frame and go right on in his Monday column going, some team was dogged.
And some bloke that's never played, so don't worry.
He has played. Roll the field goal vision. All right, Nathan Cleary, he can play, and he made a successful return in the Panthers' win over the Dragons after a 7-week layoff with a shoulder injury. Sowie, what did you make of his return from injury?
Yeah, it was hard to watch him pick apart the Dragons. Yeah, he was good. I think his kicking game is what the Panthers have missed, but the ability of being able to pin teams back and obviously torpedo kicks and everything like that. But his kick selection, his patience there, and I think Jerome Luai loves having Nathan Cleary back. He doesn't have to be the main man, so they're a force to be reckoned with. Going forward, I still want to see this weekend's a test for me for both sides, Penrith and South Sydney. But Cleary coming back, he's one of the best players in the world.
Michael, you said all along that this whole competition weighs on the shoulders of Nathan Cleary and how he comes back. So can the Panthers win the comp now that you've seen him back, or you need to see more?
Yeah, I think they can. I still think Melbourne are favourites, but Nathan Cleary's made a successful return. They gave him a few extra weeks, or an extra week at least, one extra week. So I think if Nathan Cleary's shoulder holds up, Penrith will give this competition a real shake. I really believe this is Penrith's time, and they can upset Melbourne on their day, but they're not going to get close to them if Nathan Cleary isn't building pressure like he did on the weekend against the Dragons. His kicking game was phenomenal.
So you mentioned Panthers Rabbitohs this Friday night. It's an absolute blockbuster just 3 weeks from the finals, and the good news is we'll probably see it in a few weeks' time in week 1 of the finals. So given they're going to finish second and third, most likely regardless, do you play all your cards? Do you rest players? How do you approach this from both teams' perspective?
Yeah, I tossed and turned in terms of both sides, whether you do rest your players or, if you're South Sydney, Walker, Reynolds, you give them a bit of a chance to have a bit of a breather. If you're the Origin guys for Penrith, I think you just let it go. Let's see what happens, because there's so many different storylines around this. Nathan Cleary still needs to work himself back into the team system, which he's done on the weekend. But then you've got South Sydney. They conceded 50 points last time against the Penrith Panthers. Can they be better defensively? I think go out there, let's see what happens if you're a team. Because if you're getting your own way too much and you start tinkering with things and maybe hold back a little bit, I think you start getting inside your own head.
If the result doesn't matter, which it doesn't, because they finish second or third anyway, they're not going to...
Well, every result matters.
No, yeah, from a confidence point of view, but from a point of view of the ladder and the final series and the way it's going to end up, they finish second, third, no home ground advantage. It makes no difference whatsoever. Do you just hold back with what you're throwing at them?
No. You may coach a little bit less. Like you're not sort of every single fine detail as if it was a finals game. You might just pull back a little bit. But if you're South Sydney and you're able to knock Penrith over when they've got Tavita Pangai Jr., James Fisher-Harris back in the side this week, and that's their number one forward pack, a couple of weeks, the Panthers have looked over their shoulder a little bit. Yeah, they looked at Melbourne last year. That was the game they should have won. Yeah. They didn't win. So I reckon if you're South Sydney, there's a good chance this weekend.
Do you remember the prelim? Do you not care about that? Last year when they fell just short South Sydney against...
Nah,
not yet.
Totally different.
Not yet.
They
Not
might.
yet. In a couple of weeks when
Yeah.
it's for real.
Yeah.
Nathan Cleary, lucky to be playing this week.
100%. 100%. I called the Manly game. Josh Alloway got penalty for a shoulder charge. That's a shoulder charge. That's the definition of a shoulder charge, is turning your shoulder to the side, tucking it in. There's no arm wrap around. And we've seen, I don't know where, that is a shoulder charge.
Right.
Is it not?
Michael?
I'm going to take a very, it might be an unpopular opinion, but to me, when we said no more shoulder charges, it wasn't for that. I don't think, and I've said this all along, Sowie, why did we get rid of the shoulder charge? It should be in the...
Have you ever been shoulder charged?
Yeah, I have. Well,
You have?
multiple times.
Yeah,
Listen
that's
to
why
me.
we got rid of it,
Can you
mate.
let me finish
Because
this
it can
sentence?
go wrong and hit people in the head.
Yeah, but anything can go wrong and hit people in the head. We're seeing that any tackle can go wrong, and I know the risks are greater. So if you do a shoulder charge and you get it wrong and you hit someone in the head, you serve 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think we should ban it altogether.
Is that a
because
shoulder charge?
You can do the same, that's what it is. It's
Under
a shoulder
the
charge
rules?
under the
Right.
rules. But I don't, really? Look at that. It's under the rules, he should be suspended. I get that. But why are we in this situation where
Okay.
Jack Bird can run
All
the
right.
ball back
Okay.
doing the exact same motion?
Regan Campbell-Gillard does the same thing for Parramatta. Last week on this show, we saw Api Coruscant get suspended 1 week, all right, for pushing someone.
Yes. Which
All
is
right?
also...
That's not even in the rules. You can push people. You can't shoulder charge.
Sowie, I'm agreeing with you that
Yeah, well,
under the letter of the
which is
law, the
rare.
shoulder charge, that is a shoulder charge, and he was lucky to get away with it. But really, are we going to go down that path? It's just penalise the guys who get it wrong. Take the risk. You want to take the risk, then you get it wrong, you're gone.
Okay, we're not going down that path today. We're going down the path of hit or miss. And Sowie, I know you love Twitter, and I was across your Twitter all weekend, and I saw something on Thursday night.
Yes.
And you tweeted that Brandon Smith is the best hooker in the world. So I'm going to start with you, Michael. Brandon Smith is the best hooker in the NRL. Hit or miss?
Miss. He's not even the best hooker of his club. Look, I think he's a very, very good player, and I think Melbourne have got the balance right with him starting. But I'd have Harry Grant, Api Coruscant. If you're telling me who's your hooker at a club that you had to buy, it'd be Api or Harry, then Brandon Smith and Damien Cook.
His maturation this year in being able to read the game and know when to inject himself, when to run, when to be able to pass, after being the understudy to Cameron Smith, I think is a real highlight of Melbourne. He's my favourite player to watch in the NRL. I think he is the best number 9. People forget, you say Harry Grant, this guy is the number 1 hooker for New Zealand as well, who are a pretty good team at the moment if they were able to play. So I think he is the best number 9. If it was State of Origin, he would be playing State of Origin, right?
But he could be just as effective as a 13, which probably works against him in a way. He's just a good footballer.
It works against him. That doesn't discount that he's the best number 9 at the moment.
Yeah, I know. Look, he'd probably play Origin. That's a fair point. Does he play? I think they're really pretty level. I just don't think he's ahead of Harry Grant and.
I think he's
Api
got
Coruscant.
older
The subtleties in
head
his
on his
game, anyway.
All right, one thing we know is for sure there won't be a World Cup at the end of this year. We're still unsure as to whether there'll be any Test footy at all. Channel 9's Brad Fittler had this to say about potential upcoming Test footy on Friday and the 8th.
The idea is to allow the players to go and recover. This ain't going to let the players recover, and I think it's a bit disrespectful towards the people that have been working their absolute butt off at the World Cup, on that level, the World Cup level, that have just been told, no, Australia and New Zealand aren't coming over, and then been told, and then had to go away. And
So, Sowie, do you agree that it would be disrespectful to Rugby League World Cup organisers if there was any Test footy at the end of this year?
I think this is spot on from Freddie. It's a massive chance for everyone in the NRL to take a breather after what's been a difficult year. Families, everything moving up to Queensland, your whole life's been readjusted. I think it's a perfect opportunity to have a good break, get ready for next year, and we don't know what challenges are going to be next year. I think calling off the World Cup was a great call. I didn't have any problems with it at all. I'd hate to see us jeopardise that, by trying to run the players into the ground at the end of the year after what's been a hard year.
Michael?
Yeah, it's hit from me. Like, if you're having a party and you've invited me and I can't come, I don't just go have a party myself and then invite Zach.
Yeah, you would.
Oh, I would, and Zach would come to my party.
100% you
But if you
would.
found out that I was having a party and invited Zach and he didn't go, you'd be very upset, and I think it is disrespectful.
Hit or miss?
So you're coming to my party?
No.
Okay.
But one thing I will mention is the NRL has taken a financial hit now, moving families and whatever to keep the competition going. So it is a financial win if they have more games the footy. And then
I just don't think
and
we
they have
need
more
to
eyeballs.
at this stage. I don't think we need to have Australia, New Zealand.
But also, you're risking it. There is no guarantee you'll be able to get a crowd anyway. Like,
Yeah.
the situation is you're not guaranteed to have a test match in October with a crowd.
50,000 Eden Park. I was there when Tonga beat Australia last time. Guess what? Amazing scenes, Chammas.
I don't agree, and the NRL hasn't done
You don't
enough
agree?
I agree, and the NRL can do more for the international game, but this period right now, the clubs and the NRL said we're not going to the World Cup. It would be disrespectful if they played tests at the end of the year.
Okay, finally, the race for this year's Dally M medal is not a one-horse race. Michael.
It's not a one-horse race. Yeah, that's hit. It's not. I think Nathan in the next... If Tom's out for a couple of weeks as well, Nathan can make a real crack at it. I think you're right. I think Tom's ahead of him, but Nathan can catch up.
I don't think we're giving enough credit to Cody Walker. I said on the weekend that Tom Trbojevic, it's his to lose. But I went back and just looked at some of the stats. He's got 50 line break assists, 34 try assists, Cody Walker, and is still playing to the peak of his... And brought South Sydney back into this title race. When they conceded 50 points, twice this year, everyone thought that South Sydney were gone. They've been off the back of Cody Walker now. I think he would have polled some points in the last couple of weeks. He'd be right there. Cleary's there as well. So, it's a hit for me.
Okay, and very interesting comments from his coach, Wayne Bennett, over the weekends, who said that he'd have Cody Walker somewhere in his top 17 of players he's coached all time.
That's
Sowie,
so cool.
Would you be in there?
Oh, no chance. I don't even know. Hi, Wayne. I played for you once.
But that's
awesome.
Massive endorsement.
Massive. And he's not saying about anyone else in that side at the moment, but I think he just loves the way that Cody goes about his footy, and he's always in the game.
I remember when we did the team of the decade, and I spoke to Wayne Bennett about picking his team of the decade. He said, I don't do those things. I don't like to upset people. Didn't want to be disrespectful, but it says a lot about how high he holds Cody Walker if he's coming out and saying that I'd have him in my 17. I'd be more interested in who misses out on his 17, to be honest with you. Can you imagine
the players
he's coached over the years? Like, if Cody Walker's in that team, it means someone's missing out. A Lockyer or a Kevy or someone.
Well, he'd be off the
missing
bench.
out.
He'd be off the bench.
Utility. Champ or chump? It's your week, Chammas. What have you got for us?
It is my week. I've got champ for me, the Raiders. The scenes last week.
The Raiders?
Yes. They're trying to throw me under the bus here. They're trying to throw me
Didn't we do that last week?
That was 2 weeks ago.
No, I didn't. Can we please show me a champ or chump? Because you're throwing me under the bus. I don't trust what they're doing here. There was a few things that were sent to me before the game.
And this is one of them.
This is the beach. I'll take over. The champ is beach sprinting.
It is real then.
Damien Cook, obviously teaching his little one to do beach sprinting there. Of course, we all know that he's a famous beach sprinter, Damien Cook.
Oh, did we know that?
It's never mentioned.
It's only been written 37.
So that was number one. What was number two that you
This is why I didn't know it was part of the stitch out. Number two, I'm going to throw forward to the Brisbane Olympics because I think one of our colleagues here might have a role to play, judging by the performances of his daughter over the week. Can we please show the vision over the weekend here?
She's got halfway to do up her strides. Come on. She's building up pace. Still 40 metres to go in her run up. Quick, keep going. She's just fixed her hair. Building up more momentum, gets to the first stripe. Soward, this will be a big jump. She's gaining momentum, she's focused, she's concentrating. Here she goes, it's a big jump and... Oh, a world record
Foul.
for Soward. Well done.
Brilliant. A little bit of show pony, and I know where she gets that from.
Yeah, a little bit of kiss and wave to the crowd. That was awesome.
So saying that Indy will be there, or you're saying Sowie will be there?
I was going to say as commentator.
Well, judging by that, people look out at Channel 9. Sowie's coming for you, but I think that's fantastic, Sowie. Good to get out.
Yeah, good. It was just a bit of fun. I said, do you want to do the long jump? And she started running up to the whole runway. I thought, well, I have to go through it now.
And there was one more.
Yeah, I don't know if this is champ or chump. You can judge at home what you think it is. Some vision yesterday, I spotted it. I know Woodsy and Clem are very good mates. You see this here? He's gone for a grab. Look, is it taking the friendship a little bit too far? Aaron Woods here in the scrum. David Clemmer. 1 second. The legs. Yeah, champ or chump, Sowie? Has that ever happened?
I'm not going to say I've not.
You've not done that in the
I'm not going to
scrum?
say I've not done that.
Have you been in a scrum before? Oh, you played hooker.
Please.
Michael, you are our chump.
was the worst
You are
thing
our
to
chump
chump.
for highlighting
I
that.
thought you were going to stitch me up at the start of the round. Yeah.
I must say that it's a disclaimer here. The NRL do not endorse that kind of behaviour whatsoever, especially in the current climate where you're meant to keep your hands to yourself. So, Michael, you are the
Is that
chump.
a contrary conduct? Will he get fined for that?
Michael, for bringing it up? Yes, he will be. All right, NRL Pick'em. It was another big week with 3 winners taking home a share of more than $30,000 each after round 22. There's another 100 large up for grabs this weekend. Correctly tip the margins in the Panthers, Rabbitohs, Eels, Cowboys, Dragons, Roosters and Broncos, Warriors matches and you'll win your share. Head to nrl.com/pick'em now. All right, NRL Teams is on tomorrow. Neve Owens, Brett Kamali, Robbie Farah will bring you all the latest team news for round 23 as soon as the team lists drop. They'll be on air from 3:55pm. The teams are in at 4 o'clock. It's time to go, gents. Michael, I want you to be better behaved next week.
Well, I want Neve Owens back. Can we get Neve Owens back next week?
She's very good. We miss Neve. Sowie, thanks for being so well behaved. To all of our viewers out there, stay safe. Enjoy the footy this weekend. We'll see you next Monday.